Okay, boys. Now we have completed the brain part of the body. While teaching you cerebral cortex, what is the cerebral cortex? It is the layer of gray matter. Cerebral cortex is a layer of gray matter which surrounds the outer surface of cerebrum. Inside this cerebral hemisphere, there is present a white matter, and in the white matter also presents some masses of gray matter. Those are called basal ganglia. You have gone through the basal ganglia. So what are the basal ganglia? These are the gray matter masses present inside the white matter. Inside the white matter, the gray matter masses present, those are called basal ganglia. And the cerebral cortex is consisting of gray matter. The case is reversed. In which part of the central nervous system? Yes, reply me. So why don't you reply rather talking? That the case is reversed in the spinal cord. All right. The another important part, lying in the gray matter, there is present the cell body of the neurons. Cell body of the neurons and also the dendrites are present in the gray matter. While the axons, mostly the myelinated nerve fibers, they are present in the white matter. So white matter is a part of the brain which is interconnecting the adjacent part of cerebral hemisphere and also connecting the part of the cerebral hemisphere with the other part of the CNS. That is the white matter. This white matter, which is connecting the different part of the cerebral hemisphere and also the central nervous system, is of different types. We classify the white fibers like the association fibers, commissural fibers, and projection fibers. So we classify the white fibers into three categories. Association fibers, they are again of two types, short association fibers and long association fibers. Look this diagram. The short association fiber, they are connecting the adjacent gyri. You can see this. All these are the short association fibers, and they are named as arcuate fibers. So arcuate fibers are the short association fibers, and they are connecting the adjacent gyri. Then we come to the another association fibers, that is the long fibers. So long association fibers, they are connecting. The best example of long association fibers, I am telling you only one, so you can remember, that is cingulum. The cingulum, that is the example of long association fibers that is extending from paraterminal gyrus to the uncus. Paraterminal gyrus to the uncus. After this, we come to the another type of the white fibers. The another type of white fibers are the commissural fibers. The commissural fibers, they are again classified as anterior commissure, posterior commissure, corpus callosum, and also the habenular commissures. All these are the example of commissural fibers. The commissural fibers, they connect the adjacent gyri of same functional and same origin from one cerebral hemisphere to the another cerebral hemisphere. As you have seen, the corpus callosum, which is connecting the two cerebral hemispheres. So these commissural fibers and also the other parts, that is anterior commissures and posterior commissures, all these are the example of commissural fibers. Latecomers, I just told you the white fibers. The white fibers are having these cell bodies. Sorry, the gray matter is having the cell bodies of the neurons and also the part of dendrites. The axons are present in the part of white matter. They are mostly myelinated. The white fibers, they are connecting the adjacent part of the cerebral hemisphere and also connecting the part of CNS to other part of the CNS. These are of different types. The first one is of association fibers. The association fibers, they are the two types. One is the arcuate fibers. The arcuate fibers, they are connecting the adjacent gyri. You can see here. These are the short association fibers. The second type is the long association fibers. The best example of long association fibers is the cingulum. Cingulum is connecting from paraterminal gyrus to the part of uncus. The anterior commissure, this is connecting the anterior and inferior parts. Listen carefully. Antero-inferior part of temporal lobe to the another temporal lobe. One. And it is also connecting the olfactory region of one cerebral hemisphere to the another cerebral hemisphere. That is the function of anterior commissure. Posterior commissure, connecting the superior colliculi of each other and also the pretectal nuclei. That is the function of posterior commissure. Then we come to the habenular commissure. Habenular commissures, they connecting the hippocampus of one part to the another part. After this, we come to the third type of fibers, that is projection fibers. The projection fibers, they are very long and they are connecting the cerebral hemisphere with the distant part of the CNS. The best example of projection fibers is internal capsule. The best example of projection fibers is internal capsule. This is the example. You can see here. What is this? Corpus callosum. The important part of commissural fibers is they connect the adjacent gyri who are having the same function and same origin. That is very important. Look here. I have shown you this section in the DH also. This is the part of corpus callosum. These are the lateral ventricle, and this is the part of internal capsule. Look here. What is this part? I am showing you the another diagram more clearly. Look this part. This is the internal capsule is a example of projection fibers, which is consisting of compact bundle of the fibers. And this compact bundle of fibers on medial side, it is controlled or it is covered by the caudate nucleus and thalamus. On lateral side, it is covered by the lentiform nucleus. What are the different parts of lentiform nucleus? Okay, you will speak putamen, globus pallidus and all that. Which of them is having the efferent and which of them is having afferent? Tell me, which is the efferent and what are the afferents? Globus pallidus is only the efferent. And the putamen, that is this part, and this are the part of the afferent. All right. So Projection fibers example, I am telling you the internal capsule. Before talking of the internal capsule, the another example of projection fibers are fornix. The another example of projection fibers are fornix. Let's see first the internal capsule. The internal capsule, this compact bundle of projection fibers, on the medial side it is lined by chordate nucleus, lower down by the thalamus, on lateral side by the lentiform nucleus. So these are making its boundaries. And this internal capsule, we divide this into three regions. The part anterior limb, posterior limb, and the junction of the two, which is showing the band, that is the genu. Not only this, but it is also having the two parts more. Just below the lentiform nucleus, not showing in this diagram. Look this part. This is the anterior limb, this is the posterior limb, and look here, this is the lentiform nucleus. Just below the lentiform nucleus, there is another part, that is the retrolentiform part of the internal capsule. And just posterior to this lentiform nucleus, there is one more part, sublentiform nucleus of the internal capsule. So these are the different parts of the internal capsule. That is very important part. Maybe asked in your semester. This having the different parts, anterior limb, posterior limb, genu, and also the retrolentiform part and sublentiform part. All right. After seeing this internal capsule is having the different type of the fibers. It is having the motor fibers and also the sensory fibers. The motor fibers, they are of corticopontine fibers. First is the corticopontine fibers. These fibers arise from the cerebral cortex, and they are laying over the pontine nuclei, and not only the pontine nuclei but also relate on the cerebellum. Now let's see. It is forming about 72% part of the internal capsule. So large. Corticopontine fibers are forming the 72% part of the internal capsule. And it is named the fibers arising from which part of the cerebral cortex. According to that we name. The fibers which are arising from pontine parts, the cerebral cortex of the frontal part, or the frontal lobe, parietal lobe, temporal lobe, occipital lobe, like this. Combinedly they are named as the frontopontine fibers. The frontopontine fibers, they arise from the cerebral cortex, descending downwards, relying on the pontine nuclei, same side, arising from the cerebral cortex and relying on the pontine nuclei of the same side. Don't you fall down. Sit properly. Why are you collecting all of you in a one? इतनी जगह खाली पड़ी है, क्यों नहीं एडजस्ट हो जाते हो? From the pontine nuclei, the fibers cross the midline. The fibers cross the midline and relying in the cerebellum of contralateral side or opposite side. Understand? And this type of fibers are called cerebropontine cerebellar fibers or the corticopontine cerebellar fibers. Second type of the fibers are the pyramidal fibers. I am telling you about motor fibers. So first is the corticopontine fibers, second is the pyramidal fibers. The pyramidal fibers, मैडम क्या जरूरी था क्या आना? चलिए बैठ जाइए यहीं पे. Pyramidal fibers are of two types, corticonuclear fibers and corticospinal fibers. The corticonuclear fibers, after arising from cerebral cortex, descending down to the all the cranial nerve nuclei on opposite sides. बहुत सीधी बात बता रहा हूँ. Corticonuclear fibers, they are arising from the cerebral cortex, descending down, cross to the midline, and relaying into the part of all the cranial nerve nuclei. These are the corticonuclear fibers. The second time, the corticospinal fibers. The corticospinal fibers, as you all know, they are arising from cerebral cortex, cross to the midline and relaying into the anterior horn cell of the spinal cord. At what level these are decussate? Yes, someone is speaking pyramid, good. Pyramidal decussation. There these fibers, corticospinal fibers, cross and relaying into the anterior horn cell. And this part of the fibers is called upper motor neuron. When you will go in the wildlife posting, there they use the word upper motor neuron palsy, lower motor neuron palsy. If you don't know, then you can't understand. The upper motor neuron palsy, the injury may be anywhere from cerebral cortex to the part of anterior horn cell of spinal cord. That type of injury giving the different type of the patient's conditions. That is called upper motor neuron palsy. I will tell you later on, just now. And if the injury from anterior horn cells to the part or organ where it is supplying, if the injury is there, that is called lower motor neuron palsy. Both are having the difference that in upper motor neuron palsy there is a spastic paralysis. Patient is very problem, cannot abduct, cannot relax and like that. That is called the spastic paralysis. Lower motor neuron palsy, the flaccid paralysis. There is a paralysis but very flaccid. And another is the Babinski sign, very important, Babinski sign positive in the case of upper motor neuron palsy. And in lower motor neuron palsy, there is no Babinski sign reflexes. What is the Babinski sign? जब पता नहीं तो पूछते भी नहीं. If you have any child below 1 year or up to 1 year at your home, scratch his or her foot from the left lateral side. After scratching, the child will do the plantar flexion, dorsiflexion. That is Babinski sign. And normally, this is the reason because the pyramidal fibers are not developed at that time. The pyramidal fibers develop later on. And in case of upper motor neuron palsy, the patient showing the Babinski sign, and this is the commonest part which are done by the neurologist. And other are, I told you, spastic paralysis and all that. All right. Come to the part. The third type of the motor fibers are the extrapyramidal fibers. Third type of the motor fibers are extrapyramidal fibers. The extrapyramidal fibers, they include the corticorubral fibers, the corticonigral fibers, and corticostrial fibers. All these are the extrapyramidal fibers. These all are the part of the motor fibers of the internal capsule. Besides this, the sensory fibers. See the sensory fibers. The sensory fibers from thalamus, they reach to the part of different areas of cerebral cortex. And this type of the fibers, sensory fibers, they are also named as the infrapital fibers. Okay, you just remember the sensory fibers, better you remember that. So sensory fibers arising from different part of the thalamus and reaching to the different areas of cerebral cortex. And they are classified as anterior, and the fibers as they are coming from different area of the thalamus, so they are forming the radiations. I missed that diagram. Otherwise, the books has given that diagram. The fibers coming from anterior frontal lobe of the thalamus, this is called the anterior thalamic radiations, and the fibers coming out from posterior lobe, that is called posterior radiations, and similarly from upper border of the cerebrum thalamus, that is called the superior thalamic radiations and inferior thalamic radiations. All these radiations, they are reaching to the cerebral cortex, and they carrying the information from different nuclei of thalamus to the different part of the cerebral cortex. So these are the different sensory fibers which are leading from thalamus to cerebral cortex. Let's see this diagram. What are the positions of these parts? As I told you first, the parts corticopontine fibers. In corticopontine fibers, as they are coming from different lobe of the cerebral hemispheres, they are named according to that. The anterior limb of the internal capsule is maximum fitted with the frontopontine fibers, that is coming from frontal lobe of the cerebral cortex and relying on the same side pontine nuclei. Below that, the part temporopontine and like that. But the more important, see the genu part. In the genu part, there is present the corticonuclear fibers. So corticonuclear fibers, they are present at the genu. Then come to the part of posterior limb of the internal capsule, very important. The posterior limb of the internal capsule is containing or having all the pyramidal fibers. The pyramidal fibers, they are present in the posterior limb of internal capsule. See, the first one above uppermost is the upper limb, then the trunk, and then lower limb, like that. So most of the pyramidal fibers, except the corticonuclear fibers and frontopontine fibers, they are present in the posterior limb. And just posterior of pyramidal fibers, that is this one, just posterior to them, there is present the extrapyramidal fibers. So extrapyramidal fibers also present in the posterior limb of the internal capsule. So injury of the blood supplying to the posterior limb of the internal capsule is very important. I hope you remember the name of that, Charcot's artery. You had read yesterday and forget today. Very good. Charcot's artery, which is supplying the posterior limb of the internal capsule, and it is the most common artery which is cut off, and that is called Charcot's artery hemorrhage. All right. So all these are the parts of internal capsules. They are having these different parts. Besides this, the retrolentiform parts, the fibers of retrolentiform parts, they are containing the fibers which are reaching to the or connecting the lateral geniculate body to the part of the primary eye area or vision area. What is the primary vision area? Area number 70. And that is the area number 17. Look this part. This is the lateral geniculate body. So these fibers, they connecting this lateral geniculate body to the primary visual area, that is area number 70. And this type of the fibers or this bundle which is connecting the lateral geniculate body to primary visual area is called optic radiation. That is called optic radiations. Similarly, the other parts, the sublentiform parts, through that the fibers are connecting the medial geniculate body to the primary auditory area. That is 41, 42. Look here, this is the medial geniculate body, and this medial geniculate body is connecting with the primary auditory area, and this is called the auditory pathway. That is called auditory pathway. That is this part. After seeing this, let's see the blood supply of the internal capsule. You have gone through yesterday. Look here, the anterior limb that is receiving the blood supply from the anterior cerebral artery and middle cerebral artery, they are giving the branches. These are named as straight branches. So straight branches of anterior cerebral artery, they are supplying to the part of anterior limb of the internal capsule. And the middle cerebral artery, very important. The middle cerebral artery is also giving the two type of the straight branches, lateral straight branch and medial straight branch. बहुत सीधी बात बता रहा हूँ. The middle cerebral artery, both arteries, anterior cerebral artery also giving the straight branches. The middle cerebral artery is also giving the straight branches. Madam, खड़े हो जाओ. Get up. आपसे ही बोल रहा हूँ. क्या होती है स्ट्रेट ब्रांचेस? जोर से बोलो. क्यों परेशान होते हो यार? आराम से बाहर रिलैक्स करो, एंजॉय करो. What is the sense of coming in class if you can't listen? Sit down. Let's see that I will not do any help of your batch. बुलाना उसको बाहर से. बेवकूफ. And let's see the condition, how much of you remain in first MBBS. Because I have noticed is that in front of the teacher, you boys left the classes. And while sitting in the class, you are talking continuously. यही काम रह गया क्या हमारा? कैसे हो गया बंद? So the straight branches are coming from anterior cerebral artery, middle cerebral artery, and posterior cerebral artery. The important one, the medial and lateral straight branches of middle cerebral artery. The lateral straight branch of middle cerebral artery is longer or larger, and it is supplying to the part of posterior limb of the internal capsule. So these are the two important parts. One is that it is larger, longer, and second, it is supplying the posterior limb of the internal capsules. And we know that most of the pyramidal fibers are present in the posterior limb of the internal capsules. So when there is injury of this lateral straight artery, that results into severe hemorrhage, and once there is hemorrhage, that will cause the patient paralysis or maybe no movement. And this lateral straight branch of middle cerebral artery is given the name Charcot's artery, C-H-A-R-C-O-T, Charcot's artery. And when you will come in the after ward posting, you will notice that generally the doctor use the word, there is a Charcot's hemorrhage. That means there is blood supply from the Charcot's artery has been cut off. And when it will be cut off, naturally the pyramid fibers will be not work, and opposite half of the body will lose the movement. That is called paralysis. Maybe the hemiplegia. You understand the hemiplegia? That is paralysis of half of the body. So that will resulting by this. After this, I come to the another part. That is the another projection fibers which is important. That is fornix. Fornix is the part which is connecting the hippocampus to the mammillary bodies. You have seen the mammillary bodies. So the fornix is the projection fibers which is connecting the hippocampus with the mammillary body. The fibers from mammillary bodies, they are passing to the part of anterior nucleus of the cerebral cortex, and from the anterior nucleus of the cerebral cortex, these fibers, they are relaying into the area number 23 and 24, which are present in cingulate gyrus. They are also forming the part of limbic system. I am not going in detail of the limbic system. These habenular, the hippocampus, which is connecting to the mammillary body, and from the mammillary body, the fibers relaying into the anterior nucleus of thalamus, and from anterior nucleus of thalamus, the anterior nucleus of the part, they relaying into the part of the area number 23 and 24. The purpose of this, the hippocampus and this form from mammillary body to the thalamus, the fibers are named as mammillothalamic tract, and from the thalamus they are relaying into the part of area number 23 and 24. The purpose of this is responsible for recent memory. This is responsible for recent memory, also for the emotions and all this. Now what happened? That have you noticed the one thing? The person who got the accident or injury during the accident, the person is unable to recognize the recent memory, how the accident occurred and all these things. But if you ask him or her about the past, there is no problem. They narrate easily the past memories. The past memories have been already selected in the different part of cerebral cortex, so they have no loss. But the recent memory, due to injury of the hippocampus, the person is unable to narrate that how the accident occurred and what has been. This is because loss of recent memory, and that will result due to injury of the hippocampus. What is the hippocampus? We have not shown you hippocampus. It is the part of cerebral cortex which is anchored in the inferior lobe of the lateral ventricle during development. Similar to the insula, it is submerged in the inferior lobe of the lateral ventricle, and that part is the hippocampus. And this hippocampus is very important for the emotion and also for recent memory. That also comes under the head of limbic system. What about physiology? You have done the nervous system or not? Not yet. फिजियोलॉजी में स्टार्ट नहीं किया क्या अभी तक? CNS हो गया? You must know that. because they taught you in detail the part of limbic system and all that. Right? What is the corpus striatum? What is the corpus striatum? Corpus striatum is the part which is having the efferent and afferent fibers, and it is, you can see the part, the caudate nucleus and also the part of lentiform nucleus. So caudate nucleus and the putamen and these form, they are afferent, they are acting as a afferent, and globus pallidus part is acting as a efferent. That is all about this. Okay. So get ready for your second semester exam. You will get the paper including both, I am just giving you hints, complete part of head and neck, complete part of brain, both type of questions, MCQ and long question, because I am giving you punishment to your batch. I am not satisfied with your behavior. Not all, few of them. Only the 150 students are good. Rest of the students are behaving like this, that school boys. Teacher खड़े हैं, निकल के जा रहे हैं. Good. Why are you behaving like that? I want to see that how intelligent you are. So get ready for all that. Complete part of head and neck and complete part of brain. बुलाओ लो उसको. I never take the attendance. I don't bother. Someone says that myself is not taking attendance, so what is the sense to go in the class? Good. Every news came to me.